Kuzuzangpo and welcome to Bhutan e-learning project. I am Novazam from Kurthang Middle Secondary School. This is a mathematics lesson on area and perimeter for Key Stage 1 classes PP to 3. Okay, now, by the end of this lesson, you all should be able to measure the area of a flat surface using non-standard units. You should also be able to measure the area using standard unit, that is square centimeter. Then you should be able to calculate the perimeter of a 2D shape in centimeters. All right then, let us begin the lesson. Okay, now imagine you have a table and you want to buy a tablecloth for that table. Now, in order to buy the cloth, what you need to know is you need to know the surface area of that table, how much space the surface covers. Okay, so that is called the area. Now, what is an area once again? An area is the amount of surface a shape covers. Okay, then area is the space inside a 2D shape, within a 2D shape, okay, not outside the 2D shape. All right then, now look at these two shapes. Which of these two shapes do you think covers the most surface, the most space? Look carefully. Okay, shape B, right? So what did we just do? We compared the area of two shapes by just looking at the surface of the two shapes, okay? Let us try it once more. Now this time, look at the two objects. Both of them are books, right? We have a green book and we have a red book. Now look carefully. Which of these two books have a bigger surface area? Look carefully. The green book, right? Well done. Now there are times when you cannot compare the areas just by looking at the surface of two different objects, okay? So what we have to do then is we have to measure the area, all right? And when you want to measure the area, you don't always go around carrying rulers with you. You might be having rulers inside the class, you might be having rulers at home, but imagine you're outside, but you don't have a ruler, right? Then what do? Well, at times like that, you can measure area of a surface by using different types of objects. And when we do that, we say measuring area using non-standard units. All right, so let me show you an example of how we can do that. Okay, let us take this table for an example. We are going to measure the surface covered by this table. So we are going to measure the area of the top flat surface of this table, okay? And to measure the area of this flat surface, we are going to use a non-standard unit, that is a book, okay? This is the book that we are going to use. Now, in order to measure an area using non-standard unit, we must make sure that the units are all of the same size. For example, look at these books. They are all of the same size, okay? Same length, same height, same size, all right? And now, when we arrange it on the surface, when we try to cover the surface, we must make sure that there are no gaps or very little gaps as far as possible, okay? So we're going to put these books together as close as possible and cover this table using these books. All right, here we go. Now watch carefully. Of course, we have this small part uncovered, but measuring with the non-standard unit is not always accurate, so it's okay to not be absolutely correct. All right, then. Let us count the number of books that have been used to cover the surface of this table. Let us count now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So the surface area, the area of this table is about 10 books. Why do we say about? Because it is not exactly accurate. Okay, children, so this was how we could measure the area using objects as non-standard units, okay? Now we can also measure the area of certain shape by using smaller shapes, all right? Now look at this hexagon here. We are going to measure the area of this hexagon by using a trapezoid as the unit of measurement, all right? Now, as we learned earlier, the shapes, the unit must be of the same size and same shape, and when we cover a shape, cover the surface, we must not leave any gaps, and we must not overlap them either, okay? So this is what we are going to do. Now let us place the trapezoid in the hexagon. All right, here goes the first trapezoid. We need one more trapezoid, and we have fit in the two trapezoids without any gap, without overlapping, right? So the area of this hexagon is equal to 2 trapezoids. All right, now let us use the same hexagon and measure the area, this time using triangles. All right, so we need to fit in the triangles to cover the surface of the hexagon. All right, so let us do that. All right, we have 1 triangle, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. 6 triangles are needed to cover the surface of the hexagon, right? So the area of the hexagon is equal to 6 triangles, right? Now, if you had noticed, the area of this hexagon can be measured as 2 trapezoids as well as 3 triangles. Now, this is the problem with using non-standard units as the measurement units, okay? The size of the shapes can change, and they are not reliable. It gives us different measurements every time. When you use the trapezoid, you got 2. When you used the triangle, you got 6, right? So the quantity changed, right? That's why it is not reliable. So to solve this problem, we use standard unit for measuring area. All right? And the standard unit that we are going to learn in this lesson is going to be square centimeter. Now, in the 2nd grade, you have already learned how to measure length in centimeters, right? So the unit that we are going to use here is square centimeter. Square centimeter is written as SQ.cm in short, like this, okay? Now, why is it a square centimeter? Let me show you. Can you see the square there? Okay, now the side length of this square is 1 centimeter. And as you know, squares have all the sides of equal length, right? So if one side is 1 centimeter, the other sides are also 1 centimeter. So the area of this tiny square is 1 square centimeter. That is why we are going to use this unit now to measure the area of other shapes. Okay? Let us try now. Look at this example. Here is shape A. Let us measure the area of this shape by using those tiny squares. Okay? Let us fill the shape with the squares. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 squares, right? 8 squares fill the shape. So the area of this shape is 8 square centimeter. Now, this is a small shape, so it was easy to fit in these tiny squares. Imagine if it was a larger shape. Imagine having to cut these tiny squares and fit in a shape every time. Doesn't that sound tiring? It is very tiring, right? So, to help us, what we can do is we can use centimeter square grids like these. Now, you have seen this, right? Where did you see it before? In your mathematics notebook. The mathematics notebooks are usually like this, right? They have square grids in them. You can also find these type of square grids on graph notebooks. Okay? Now, what we can do here is we can trace a shape on these square grids and then count the squares that fill the shape. All right? This is how we do. For example, this shape has a length of 4 centimeter and a width of 2 centimeter. So we trace the shape firstly on the centimeter square grid. Okay? Then we count the squares that fill in the shapes. All right? So let us start counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The area of this shape is 8 squares. That is 8 square centimeters. Now let us try with shape B. Look at shape B. Firstly, we trace this shape on the square grid, and then we start counting the squares that are inside the shape. Okay, let us count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. So, the area of shape B is 12 squares. That is 12 square centimeters. Did you get it? All right, now, it is easy to use the square grid with regular shapes which have straight sides, right? How about irregular shapes? Take a look at the outline of this leaf, for example. It doesn't have any straight lines. So how do you use the square grid to measure the area of this type of shapes? Well, this process is the same. First, you trace the shape on the square grid, okay? Then you start counting the squares which are inside the shape, okay, the whole squares. Let us count. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now you start counting the squares which are in the shape more than half, which are more than half inside the shape, all right? So let us start counting those as well now. 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Then we leave out the rest of the squares which are less than half inside the shape, okay, like these ones. We just leave them out. So the area of this irregular shape, the outline of the leaf, is 10 square centimeters. All right? Okay, now we have learned about how to calculate area using non-standard units as well as standard unit, that is square centimeter. Okay? Now imagine you have a beautiful flower garden like this, and you want to fence this garden, maybe for decoration or for protection. You know that the fence goes around the garden, right? It doesn't cover the garden. So we cannot use the area of the garden to construct the fence. We need something that tells us about the outline of the garden, and that is called perimeter. Okay? Perimeter is the distance around a shape. All right? It is the total length of an outline of a shape. Now, like area, we can also find perimeter with non-standard units. And let me explain how it is done. Let us look at the garden example once again. You have the garden there and you fence it. Now you need to know the length of the plank that you might need. All right? So what we'll do is we will find the perimeter of this garden. Here, the non-standard unit that we will be using is a stick. We are going to use the stick and measure the perimeter of the garden. Look at the picture here. Let us start measuring the total length of the outline of this garden. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18. So we need 18 sticks to go around this garden. That is the total length of the outline of this garden. So the perimeter of this garden is about 18 sticks. Again, we use the word about here because it is not the exact measurement. All right? Now we can use other objects or other non-standard units to measure the perimeter as well. For example, in the same garden example, instead of the stick, you can use your feet span. Like walk around the garden and measure the feet spans. Okay? Now, let me show you how we can measure the perimeter of a two-dimensional shape by using our hand span. Okay, children, earlier we measured the area of the top surface of this table, right? This time we are going to measure the perimeter of this table using a non-standard unit. The unit that we are going to use for this measurement is going to be our hand span. All right? So let us measure. We can start from any side, all right? Let us start from here. 1, 2, 3. Then we move on. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay? 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. So the perimeter of this table is about 16 hand spans. Did you get it? Like in area, we cannot always use the non-standard units for measuring perimeter because it is not reliable every time. For example, if I use the hand span, sometimes I might stretch my hand a little too much, right? And the length of my hand span and the length of your hand span is also different, right? That is why it is not reliable. So we use the standard unit of measurement for perimeter as well. And in this lesson, we are going to learn to use centimeter to measure the perimeter of shapes. Okay? Now take a look at this example. Remember shape A? We will use shape A once again. The length of shape A is 4 centimeters. The width of shape B is 2 centimeters. Now, the length of shape A is 4 centimeters. And the width of shape A is 2 centimeters. Now we need to know the length of all the sides to be able to calculate the perimeter, right? But we only know the length of 2 sides. What do? What shape is this? This is a rectangle. And as you know, the opposite sides of a rectangle are always of the same length. So if the length is 4 centimeter, then the opposite length, the one below, is also 4 centimeters. If the width is 2 centimeter, then the opposite width is also 2 centimeters. So now we have the measurement of all the sides, right? So let us calculate the perimeter of this shape. As we said earlier, perimeter is the total length of the outline of the shape, right? So what we do is we just add all these lengths, all right? So let's start adding. 4 centimeters plus 2 centimeters plus 4 centimeters plus 2 centimeters. Now, that gives us a total of 12 centimeters. And that is the perimeter of this shape. All right, let us look at another example. This time, it is an irregular shape, right? We have the lengths of all the sides given. We just need to find the perimeter of this shape. So what do? We add up all the side lengths. So let's start adding. 3 centimeters plus 5 centimeters plus 2 centimeters plus 7 centimeters plus 5 centimeters. That gives us a total of 22 centimeters, and that is the perimeter of this shape. Now children, in this lesson we have learned today to calculate area of a flat surface by using standard and non-standard units. Now what is an area? It is the surface that is covered by a 2D shape, right? Then we learned to calculate the perimeter of a 2D shape using standard and non-standard units again. What is the perimeter? It is the total length of the outline of a shape, or the total distance outside a shape. Alright, so in order to check the understanding of this lesson, you have a short exercise to do. The first one is measure the area of your mathematics notebook using biscuits. Now you can use any type of biscuits, just make sure that they are rectangular in shape. Alright? Then measure the perimeter of your book, the mathematics notebook, using a pencil. Alright? The third one, trace your sharpener on a centimeter square grid paper. Then find out what the area of your sharpener is in square centimeter. The fourth one is measure the dimensions of your sharpener and calculate the perimeter of the sharpener in centimeters. Can you do that? And here is the final question. Look at this shape carefully. What is the area and the perimeter of the shape given below? All the best with all these activities, and I'm pretty sure you would be able to do all of them very easily. Thank you very much.